Hey guys, it's Mrs. Conway. Welcome to second trimester. So if you're new to my class, you should probably go ahead and go watch the video that I made just for you guys, the intro to Mrs. Conway's class video, which I will post in Teams. But if this is round 2 with me, which is most of you guys, get ready for a new lesson and some slight changes just to help encourage you to be taking notes. So you may have noticed that this worksheet is available on Teams. So if you go to your assignment for lesson 1, then you can get to these notes in OneNote. So you have two choices here. One is you can go ahead and take notes right on the screen like I'm doing. You can type them in and then you can just use your touchpad to touch in some of the points and stuff. If that's not something you're comfortable with, I encourage you to either print this out if you have a printer or just pull out your own math notebook. If you can get your hands on some graph paper, that would be ideal, and write these notes in your notebook. And then at the end of the unit, if you do them on paper, what I'm going to want you to do is just take a little video of all your notes and submit that either on OneNote or on Flipgrid so that I can see that you are doing your notes. So however you're doing notes right now, I want to make sure you are doing that right now. So hit pause, go get a piece of notebook paper, or go print this out, or if you're going to do it on OneNote, get to OneNote and get ready to take some notes. So our first part, we're actually totally switching gears here. For the beginning of second trimester, we were solving equations and inequalities. Now we're going to start to talk about graphs, which is something you've probably seen before. I'm sure you're all familiar with the coordinate plane. A coordinate plane is a two-dimensional system used to locate any point by its distance from a vertical axis to a horizontal axis. So basically, we're graphing in 2 dimensions. You've got x and you've got y. So right here, we're going to label the parts of the plane. So it's just important to know these parts so when you're watching my videos or maybe someone else's videos, you know what they're talking about when they talk about different things. So the origin is the middle of the graph. It's the point 0, 0. So this is our origin, is this purple dot that I just did here. Origin. It's the point 0, 0. Looks like a little owl face. Okay. The next one, quadrants. The quadrants are the 4 pieces that the graph gets broken up to when we put in the x and y axis. So our first quadrant is the upper right quadrant. Our second quadrant is the upper left. The lower left is quadrant 3, and the lower right is quadrant 4. So the quadrants are marked in green. Our origin, I denoted in purple. Okay, now the x-axis. The x-axis is the horizontal axis. So this is our x-axis. Our y-axis is the vertical axis. So y is the one that goes up and down. So there's the parts of the plane. So make sure that you get those written down. Again, the cool part is this is a video, so if I'm going too fast, hit pause for a second. Okay. So next, an ordered pair. So ordered pairs is how we graph stuff on the coordinate plane. So if you're using OneNote here, you might not, hopefully you figured out how to do what I did up here, but I'll just show you what I do. If you just kind of double click right here, sorry, that's not true because I was just using my pen. If you've been using a pen, see this little button over here oh no, you can't see this little button. There's a button up in the upper right-hand corner, right here, that has a mouse and an eye thingy on it. If you click that, it changes your cursor so that you're not drawing anymore. Now you are using the keyboard. So now I can click here and I can write. So an ordered pair is something like that has parentheses, x, comma, y, close parentheses, and that made a text box. So I just have to move my text box in, And I think I figured out that for this page, if you set your font to 16, it takes up almost exactly one space. And I just like to use Comic Sans MS because it's pretty. Text box, so XY, an ordered pair is XY, where X is the distance from the origin on the x-axis, and Y is the distance on the y-axis. And so the first number tells you, and I'm going to put in parentheses here, so x-axis, so we're talking left or right. And the y-axis is going to be up or down, okay? So I'm going to get that so we can see all of it. Might have to resize my text box here just a little bit. Maybe use a slightly smaller font, or apparently I should have made this worksheet just a little bigger. I'll keep that in mind for next time. So the ordered pair is at the point X. Oh, that should have a comma, shouldn't it? Comma Y, where X is the distance from the origin on the x-axis, left or right, and Y is the distance on the y-axis, which is up or down. And I'm going to make that a different color just so that we know that we were writing that in. And I wrote the word that way. All right. So there's our definition of ordered pair. Now, how do we actually do that? So you guys should be pretty familiar with this process, but let's just practice anyway. So if we're talking about point A here, then to get to point A, you have to go left 1, 2, 3 spaces and up 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. So we went left 3 and up 4. So that means that the ordered pair would be -3 because we went left 4. So that would describe point A. The quadrant is, if we look back up here at our cheat sheet, then we're in quadrant 2. Okay. Point B is going to be down here, and you notice for point B we're going right 2 and down 1, 2, 3 spaces. And they didn't give me a scale here, so I'm going to assume each of these spaces is worth 1. 1, 2, down 3. So right 2, down 3. Left and down are negative, and then obviously conversely up right are positive. Okay, and then that point is in quadrant 4. All right. The point C, it's right on, and remember this is X and Y, so this is the y-axis. So it goes over 0 and up 2. So 0.02, and then when it's right on the y-axis right here, instead of being in a quadrant, I'm going to call this y-axis. Okay. Point D is over here. So it's 1, 2, 3, up 1. So it's the point 3, 1, and it's in quadrant 1. Point E is down here. So we would describe that as being, it's -2 because it's down, it's left 2 and then down 1, 2, 3. So it's, oops, I counted wrong because it's only over 2 and then down 3. So -2, down 3. And then that's in quadrant 3. Notice anything that's in quadrant 3 is left and down, so it's going to have both negatives. And then our last one here is F. And F, you notice, goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the right, but then doesn't go over at all. So it's going to be 5, 0. And then that point, since it is on the x-axis, we would just say x-axis because it's not actually in any quadrant. All right, and then we've just got 2 vocabulary words right here. These aren't super important vocabulary words, but I just want you to note the definitions because this might come up for you later in life. A discrete graph is a graph that's points. So a discrete graph is like what we just did is a bunch of points. Okay, and then a continuous graph, that's like a line or a curve. So like, let me get my font just a little bigger here so you guys can actually read that. Okay, so a discrete graph might look like here's my y-axis, here's my x-axis, and it might be dots that form a line. A continuous graph would be a line. So you could have the same numbers in both, but a discrete graph you don't connect the dots, and in a continuous graph you do. And watch the next video to see how we're going to graph functions.